Once again, I'm late getting a video out talking about the latest episode of The Bridge. Although, I wish I had watched it right away because honestly, this episode again maintained the steadily increasing standards of the show. Now, the plot of this is pretty basic. It really goes downhill in terms of what the main characters of the show are trying to accomplish, which is again trying to take down Fausto Gabon. At the end of this episode, the protagonists have nothing because the prosecutor who was going to help them testify against um, Captain Robles and the other dirty officers in hopes of eventually getting to Fausto Gabon, he's whacked, as it were. And in addition to that, you have, well, actually, in response to that, Eva, the woman who is going to testify, the rape victim, she says, well, okay, well, you obviously can't protect yourselves, I'm not testifying anymore. And Linder, the Tom Wright character, he basically he does not at all try to hide the fact that he has one of the dirty officers tied up in his shed. So she basically takes things into her own hands, and it was really nice to see some semblance of reactionary behavior out of her, rather than just kind of sitting there and doing nothing. I understand that there's only so much you can do with this type of character, this kind of victimized woman. But I'm glad they actually had her take some action. Now, in addition to that, Daniel and Emily Rios character, they risk their lives to get this story, and the boss won't run it for whatever reason. He claims he doesn't want to get sued. Whether or not the show will further elaborate on why he doesn't want to run the story. Maybe he's in league with whoever they're running the story about. Who knows? I guess we'll find out later. But in addition, this episode actually kind of paves the way for an interesting conflict between Sonia and Marco, and actually, it might serve as a metaphor to the conflict between the El Paso police force and the Mexican police force, because Marco executes two guys that were sent by the mafia, and Sonia is basically told by him, you will never hear lies are going to save our life. And the promo for the next episode basically shows Sonia being all hostile towards Marco. So that actually sounds like a fairly interesting conflict. Yeah, overall, this episode, everything that was good about the previous episode still remains good here, with Matthew Lillard actually being a particular highlight this time around. And I also really like the sense of escalation. I like the fact that that everything they have been working to achieve up to this point just suddenly comes crashing down. But what actually makes it kind of refreshing is that they don't really dwell on it all that much. I mean, usually when you see something in a show like this, they basically have a time of mourning, a time of like, oh God, there's no hope. But you don't really see any sign of these characters becoming less proactive. They're just at a loss of what to do at the moment. So the prosecutor, you kind of knew that he was going to get hit eventually, especially considering the scene in the last episode where he was threatened. Him and Sonia were threatened. And as this season continues, it will be interesting to see how far Fausto Gabon is willing to go to cover his tracks or protect himself and his accomplices. And if that will eventually come back to bite him, because he's told in this episode that you might not want to go around killing people this early. I don't care if they are going to prosecute against you. So So there's that, and also some of the character moments I pulled out of this episode were really pretty good. For example, the Nathan Phillips character, Jack Dobbs, I believe his name is. He's apparently staying at Sonia's apartment. He's apparently going to get a job around the neighborhood, and Hank of course doesn't like him because he's being illogical. He says, "Do you know anything about this guy besides the fact that his brother killed your sister?" And Sonia's like, "No, but I do like him." So yeah, that's almost assuredly going to put a kink in their relationship, and also what could potentially harm it is the fact that he found a body under the water tower by following his brother's clues. So yeah, like I said, this episode offers some nice setup for future conflict, while at the same time offering some, albeit somewhat depressing conclusions to current conflicts that were set up, or current plans. Like I said, it doesn't really look like the prosecution is going to go through anytime soon. Whether they'll resort to other methods to get Fausto Gavon, I don't know. Yeah, it's like I said, it's going to be interesting to see where the series goes from here. So I don't know. Are they going to tackle other drug lords besides Fausto Gavon? I don't know, but the most important thing is that Annabeth Gish's little crew was not in this episode. Or at the very least, I don't remember them being in this episode, and that's always a plus. At least in my book. If you like them, well, more power to you.